So the Chaim, Riva Lebas Marachai, George is tonight, Shav an Aliyah, She good the better for Ruvain, and for your whole family, for Ogor B'Sech Klal Yisrael. Chaim. Unfortunately, today, we lost a pillar of our community, Dr. Bressman, who,
Dr. Bressman passed away?
Unfortunately, Dr. Bressman passed away today, and yeah. During the Levaya, a rabbi came over to me and he said to me, you know, Dr. Bressman had a real zechut, real merit, because his son is so knowledgeable in Torah. Rabbi Bressman, he is an author, accomplished author, and he writes Torahs and he writes mezuzahs. What a great zechut. He said to me that he has a son like Rabbi Bressman. So I told him, Rabbi Bressman has a great zechut that his father was Dr. Bressman. There are a lot of things that, you know, people have different yardsticks, different ways of measuring things, different ways of looking at things. But those who knew Dr. Bressman, Chad Bedara, in a generation, I'm not an old man, but I meet a lot of people, is a person, unique in a generation. Dr. Bressman would daven over here for several hours. When he first became close to Yiddishkeit, Rabbi Harlik said he was taking a long time, disproportionate amount of time with his prayers. He said to him, what's going on? He said, well, I don't really know where it starts and where it finishes, so I just say most of the book every day. I figure that's acceptable. That's really what he did. And so even when he learned how to daven, or learned which prayers to say, he continued to say so many many words that he didn't know what the words meant. He never learned what the words meant. But he spoke from his soul to God every single day for literally for hours on end. And it wasn't just his Torah, his prayer. Every day we had a class here, and there, you know, everyone ups and downs, years go by, people move in, people move out, it's COVID. Dr. Bressman is here every single day studying Torah. Every day until he became ill, almost every day. Unless he was ill, he was here studying Torah every single day. And his chesed, his kindness, you know, if you're a doctor, you know, answers to various things, and you know that's why doctors don't answer the phone all the time. But he wasn't like that. He always made room for every person, every time. He didn't have no in him. These are the three pillars the world stands on: Torah, prayer, and kindness. And it was in him. These three pillars were in an otherworldly way. It was in a way that there are many chassidim who pray for hours because they know deep secrets of the prayers. But then there's a guy who's saying the words because and his eyesight, unfortunately, in later years weakened, and it was harder for him to say the words. But he kept on it. It became even more determined. I need to say the words to Hashem. I need to say these words. What do the words even mean? It didn't matter. I need to say these words. These are the words of the prayers. This is something that I think we all have to chayat and aliba, something we have to all pay attention to. You know, a lot of things we all feel. If I would have this amount of money, if I'd have this kind of social life, if I would have this kind of family, then my life would be different. I'd be so much happier. It's a common refrain that many of us often think, you know, things are the way they are now, but if things would be different, things would be so much better. And the truth is that Hashem gave each of us a key that really can put us in a whole different place. And this key Hashem gave each of us, and those who have used it, they breathe different air, they see different things, and they feel different, they live different. This Shabbos is called the Shabbos of vision. What Dr. Bressman lacked in sight, he had in vision. The reason he prayed for so many hours wasn't because he couldn't see very well. Is because a lot of people, because he couldn't read very well, is because he had a vision what the Siddur is. He wanted to see, he wanted to have his eyesight back just because he wanted to be able to look at the Siddur. That's vision. That's appreciation. Let's start with this. Why is the Shabbos called the Shabbos of Vision? On the surface, it's because this Shabbos, read the Haftorah, of Isaiah about the impending destruction of the temple. But the Apter said, this Shabbos is the most joyous Shabbos, the most powerful Shabbos of the whole year. But Ditchever Rebbe said, the reason the Shabbos is called the Shabbos of vision is because every Jew, every moment of the Shabbos, is shown a vision of the third Beis HaMikdash. Every one of us, the entire Shabbos, we have this hypnotherapy where God shows each of our souls this vision of the third Beis HaMikdash. But do we actually see it? How does it actually work? June.
So where's this conception that it's only at night my sleep vision?
That's something that happened in my year when I was in fourth grade. My teacher told us when we go to sleep we see it. It's in fourth grade. You were also, I don't know if you were in Worcester when your teacher told no, but that's something teachers tell their students, but it's not true. It's every moment the Rebbe says of Shabbos, every Jew sees the third Beis HaMikdash. It's not when you sleep you just dream about it. It's every moment. I have a friend of mine who's a hypnotherapist. Actually, the interesting thing, the Rebbe said that hypnotherapy could be dangerous. A lot of times hypnotherapists bring people back to their trauma, and they give them some kind of guided meditation while they go through the same trauma again, so that they can reframe the trauma and be healed. They've been told by a friend, be careful how you do this, because sometimes you bring someone under, and you bring them back, it could exacerbate the trauma. But he said an interesting thing, this guy. He said that often he brings people back to the past where there was no issues in the first place, and sometimes he brings people to the future, the coming Mashiach. And when he brings people to the future, the issues are also solved. Anyway, so that's what the Shabbos, the issues are solved in the future. Mashiach comes, we'll see how all the different things we had throughout the exile, how where they go. So this Shabbos, what's going on? So the beautiful teaching of the Chassam Sefer has a lot of Hasidic teachings because his teacher was a Baal HaFloah who was a student of Nishmat. So Chassam Sefer is a beautiful teaching about Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve. It says in the Torah, after Adam and Eve ate from the tree, as their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked. Question is, their eyes weren't open before? They didn't know they were naked before? Their eyes, what do you mean their eyes were open? What does that mean? So Chassam Sefer explains there's two kinds of vision. There's a physical sight, you can see with your eyes, and there is a spiritual eyesight, you could see the inside of things. Before Adam and Eve ate from the tree, when Adam looked at Eve, Adam saw soul. When Eve looked at Adam, she saw soul. When they looked at the world, they saw soul. They saw the soul of everything. When they ate from the tree, they had now a new perception. They now also saw the physical. And because they also saw the physical, it obscured somewhat of their original vision. It took away something of their perfect clarity they had before. And this is, the Torah says, for example, don't go after your hearts and after your eyes. It would seem the Torah should have said, don't go after your eyes and after your hearts, because first you see the wrong thing, then you want the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing. But the Torah says hearts first. Why does the Torah say hearts first? Because you don't really see the same thing that I see. Everyone sees different things based upon where their hearts are. If you love red cars, you walk down Pico, you notice the red cars. If you like Teslas, you like Waymos, you'll notice all the Waymos. So if you're wherever you are, that's what you see. If you're into people's faults, if that makes you feel good to see faults in others, that's what you'll see. It has to do with what you're connected to. So after Adam and Eve ate from the tree, because it became more connected to the physical, so therefore they saw the physical. And that's why they were embarrassed. All of a sudden they felt immodest without clothing, because they were more attached to the physical, and therefore they saw things differently. This will give us an insight to what happened on the 9th of Av. It says in the Talmud that there was a prophet named Asaph. And Asaph gives us one of the Psalms in Tehillim, which he calls a song. The song is more of a lamentation, more of a dreadful calamity that he describes instead of a song. What does he say happened? What's the song about? The destruction of the temple. The Talmud asks, why is it called a song? The Talmud answers, God could have expended his anger on people. Instead, God expended his anger on wood and stones. Therefore, it's a song. We're thanking God for not hurting people. The question is, so what was plan A? What's plan B? Why did there have to be any anger? What was the anger about? And what did the stones do wrong? If God expended his anger on the stones and the wood, there must have been a purpose in that also. There's no such thing in Judaism as punishment for the sake of punishment. There's a Hashem is our loving Father, and whenever the Torah talks about a consequence that Hashem gives, it's always only in order to lift us up. That's why this month is called Menachem Av. Menachem Av means A father who comforts, a father who gives comfort. There's different ways of discipline, but the title this month is, who is Hashem? Hashem is a way who lifts us up. How does he lift us up? With menachem, with comfort. And not that first there is the calamity of the loving father, that the father chastises the child, and later he comforts him. Menachem of, what kind of a father do we see in the month of Av? At the beginning of Hashem gives us goodness and kindness. So in this Torah, when the Torah talks about consequences, it's always for Hashem's love, because of Hashem's love. And not only is it Hashem's love, it's also tempered by kindness. So what was the purpose of the destruction of the temple? When the temple was originally built, Jewish people had a higher vision, higher perception. They knew what the temple was. What was the temple? When they saw the menorah, they saw how the menorah is about a soul of a Jew being illuminated. They saw the menorah, they said, this is about Hashem lighting up our souls. When they saw the altar, they saw the heart of a Jew. When they saw a sacrifice, they thought about what Nachmanides taught us, how a sacrifice is about devotion to Hashem. They didn't see the physical so much. They saw more the inner contents of what the temple is about. They saw the physical temple, yes. But later, as they descended spiritually, all of a sudden they noticed, wow, beautiful silver, beautiful gold. It looks so nice, looks so beautiful. They didn't work on their vision, and so they lost it a little bit, and they became a little more enchanted by the periphery, by the superficial nature of the temple. Not what was inside it, but by what it looked like. And that also caused them to make other mistakes. That's who they were. They became more attached to the physical. When you're more attached to the physical, then people rub you the wrong way and you're interested in different things. So the temple was destroyed. What was the purpose of destruction of the temple? Hashem says, I want you to look at what it really is about. Forget about the externals. I want you to get in touch with what it's about. What's the temple about? God says, make a temple. This is the key. If you miss this, you missed it all. The temple is about God's presence living among us. Hashem being revealed here. If you don't have it, there's no temple. The temple is only about that. So that's also what the Torah says, whenever they travel with the temple, they had to cover up everything. You couldn't see it. Why couldn't you see it? The Levites had to cover up every vessel. Even the Kohanim, according to some opinions, weren't allowed to see the various vessels. They got to be covered. Why? Because Hashem doesn't want us to look at the props of the temple. He wants us to be in touch with the inner meaning of the temple's about. This is the explanation of the book of Formation. Book of Sefer Yetzirah, according to many opinions, was written by Avraham Avinu, by Rabbi Kiva. Definitely a very old book, and there are many commentaries, many books written on this book. In this book, he talks about how every month has a sign. We just came from the month of Tammuz. The sign of the month of Tammuz is the eye, vision, and they're coming to the Shabbos of vision. So the Zohar says about vision, the Zohar says in Parshas Pinchas, the Zohar says when the eye is closed, the eye could see the anpin nehidin. The eye could see the bright light. The eye could see the dazzling bright light when the eye is closed. And this, the Zohar says, is a secret of the open eye. In other words, when you close the eye, you're able to see more. What does that mean? The Zohar is saying, you look at the periphery of things, look at the superficiality of things, so then you don't notice the inner meaning of things. But when you close your eye to the physical, and you look deeper, then your inner eye is open. You could see that what the Zohar calls the hidden higher lights, the dazzling bright lights, because you're seeing the essence of things. But when your eye is open, it's hard to notice. What does that really mean? It's hard for us to relate to. There's a museum in Israel called the Museum of Darkness. It's a museum meant to teach people what it's like to be blind. There was a Jew who went to this museum and he attended a tour in the museum, and he said that he went with 5 friends, and the tour guide first brought them into one room, and in this room he told they played classical music, and the blind man said the tour guide was blind, and the whole museum is all dark, completely dark.
I was there.
You were there?
Yeah.
So he brings them into where is it in the?
He was closer to Philadelphia.
He brings them into this room. They listen to classical music. The guy says, "I never enjoyed music until I became blind. I thought I enjoyed music. I love music, but when I became blind, all of a sudden I heard music differently. Why? Because till then, when you're hearing the music, you're also noticing all the around of the music, all different things that attract your eye besides the music. Once he became blind, all of a sudden became completely into the music. The next room, you take a coffee. Make a coffee? Well, you can't see anything. You're picking up a cup, you're picking up coffee, picking up milk, you're picking up sugar. What are you picking up? And that was, at the end of the whole tour, the guy tells everyone his life story. And his life story is fascinating. He had this virus that made him blind. He used to be able to see, and it's a lot harder if you could see once and then you know what you're missing. And so the guy tells everyone his life story. And he's speaking with such depth and with such wisdom. The man by the tour is like, I wish this guy was my father. He's so intelligent. He's so bright. He's so caring. He's so sensitive. I wish this man was my father. What a brilliant, brilliant man. The tour finishes. At the end of the tour, they go out, and this man who attended the tour, he notices this guy who has these tattoos all over his face, and his eyes, and he has scars, and his eyes are like apart in a weird way. The guy's looking at him. I think this guy must belong to the mafia. If I met this guy in the street, I would walk to the side of the street. And then he realizes that was a tour guide. That was a tour guide. The guy that he thought like it was such a terrible mafia man. That was a second before. He wished it was his father, because our perception of what is high and what is low and what is good and what is bad, we're only looking with our eyes of flesh, and therefore we don't always notice like the real giants among us, like Dr. Bressman. But Hashem gave us this gift. They're able to actually use our vision, and to change our perspective. This man visited Jerusalem on the 9th of Av. He had never been in Jerusalem before. The story goes, he goes into Jerusalem, and he is he's a contractor, and he sees everyone sitting on the floor, and they're crying. He says, what happened? You don't know. This is the day that the temple was destroyed. Temple? What do you mean, which temple? He said, they had a whole area in the Temple Mount. Yeah, it was destroyed, but look at the real estate. Plenty of, what kind of real estate that is? It's great. There's a pasuk we always say every day. The eyes of all yearn for you, and you give everyone bread in an appropriate time. You open up your hand, and you satisfy the desire of every living being. This pasuk is also telling us, if we would have the eyes to see things from the perspective of Hashem, we would notice that Hashem is taking care of us. We will notice that none of us are alone. That Hashem is holding our hand. We're not walking by ourselves. We're not walking without guiding, being guidance. There was a guy, true story. A friend of mine in his community. There was a guy who was taken into prison in a very primitive country. He and his wife were taken into prison because of a libel, and they had 5 children. Yeah, a friend of mine in his community. And his primitive country, they arrested the couple, and they had 5 children at home. So my friend, he called the guy up while he was in prison, and he encouraged him. He sent him a chauffeur, he sent him kosher food, and the guy was like, very encouraged. And my friend taking care of him, and he has kosher food, and one day, yeah, my friend is Rabbi Shatitski in Antwerp, a man in his community. So he said to this guy, at one point he calls Rabbi Shatitski and he says to him, I can't anymore. It sounded like he was going to commit suicide. I can't anymore. I can't. I just, he's a human being, he's encouraging him and everything, but I can't. So Shatitski says he didn't know what to do. He just turned to Hashem and he said this. This is what came to him. He said to him, listen, I want you to sit down with a pen and paper. I want you to sit down with your neshama, sit down with your soul. I want you to ask yourself, to ask your neshama, to ask your soul, what do you think Hashem would tell you? What do you think God would tell you? What would you think God tell you? You're in prison, and they're sentenced to 4 years in prison. 4 years in prison. They have 5 kids at home. It's him and his wife. What do you think God would tell you? So he sat there, and he called the rabbi back. A new person. He said, God told me, this is his feeling, have patience. Things will turn around. Don't give up hope. Have patience. A few days later, not a few years later, a few days later, he and his wife were freed. They didn't even get to sentencing and freed completely. They in fact they said to them, leave right away. Don't stay another day. Go out. Mamish. He changed his perspective. He trusted in Hashem, and he heard Hashem. He lived with Hashem, and he felt Hashem taking care of him, and he was lifted up.
So what happened? He heard God talking to him, or
That's a good question. It's a good question. I don't think you heard God talking to him. I don't think if you heard God talking to him, I would say he needs a psychiatrist, right? He's not Moshe Rabbeinu. He's not Avram Avinu, but he thought deeply with his neshama. What is Hashem asking of him? He thought deeply. Imagine you sat with your neshama. What is my neshama saying to me? Thinking deep what your neshama's perspective is. It's not easy, but we have an ability to do that. We have a soul. That's a realist part of us. Imagine thinking what our neshama thinks, what neshama wants, what neshama. Every day, we start off our day with Moda'ani. Moda'ani is not just the first thing we do. Moda'ani is a direction of how we start our day. Moda'ani means we thank Hashem we're alive. But Moda'ani is also direction. I'm looking for a connection with Hashem. Moda'ani means I'm looking to connect with you, Hashem. And throughout the day, we see 100 blessings throughout the day. We're looking for the goodness that Hashem is giving us. We're looking for, there's a guy in our community, I'll say his name, we'll all learn from him, Mordechai Yosef Feldman, ein Gesund. He made a decision on his birthday a few years ago. His decision was, his achlata was, I'm going to look at when a person needs help, and look at this as an opportunity. Instead of looking at it as a chore, as a burden, someone needs help, and look at this as an opportunity. And honestly, that's what Dr. Bressman did all the time. He looked at someone needs help, I can help someone. Anyway, so this is the hypnotherapy that Hashem tells us is Shabbos. You notice throughout the Torah, in our Jewish customs, there's always an emphasis on closing your eyes. When a Kohen blesses a people, very often, many opinions, the Kohen should close his eyes. Why should the Kohen close his eyes? And the people are being blessed. According to some customs, they close their eyes. The Kohen closes his eyes. The people close their eyes. Why does the Kohen close his eyes? The Kohen closes his eyes because I'm going to bless these people. That guy, he owes me $5. They didn't pay you back since 1972. That guy. So the Kohen closes his eyes. I'm not blessing the external. I'm blessing my brothers. The person receiving the blessing, looking at the Kohen, he's giving me a blessing. That guy. So the idea of closing our eyes is look deeper. Similarly, a groom and bride at the wedding, the bride's face is covered. What's the idea? There's a reason she's getting married to this guy. She sees something in him. But there's also more important, she closes her eyes. There's a lot more I don't know about, and I accept, and I am committed to, and I believe in. It's the idea of closing our eyes. When we say Shema, we close our eyes. There are different reasons we close our eyes when we say Shema. One reason is because when we close our eyes, we're meant to open up our inner eye and think about the reality of the Shema, the reality, the truth, which we can't see always with our physical eyes. And this is the halacha that Hashem tells us about the Beis HaMikdash. Hashem tells us you're not allowed to destroy a shul. You can't destroy a shul. Hashem keeps his mitzvahs. And the Gemara says Hashem was the one who caused the fire and destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. How could he destroy his own house? He's not allowed to. He keeps the Torah. The answer is that there's one situation you're allowed to destroy a Beis HaMikdash. You're allowed to destroy a shul. What's
If it's better the next time.
If you're rebuilding it, making something better. Yeah. So the truth is the vision, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. What is it really? The vision, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. It's a vision of the coming of Mashiach. That's the whole purpose of the destruction in the first place. The Beis HaMikdash was a binyan de Barnash, was a building by human beings, and Hashem wants to give us binyan de Kuchabrichu, a building made by Hashem that lasts forever. So this Shabbos, Hashem opens up our eyes and lets us see the imminent arrival of Mashiach, not just the actual physical structure of the Beis HaMikdash, but the inner meaning, the Shechina, the light of Hashem that fills the world, and the essence of Hashem's light that fills the Beis HaMikdash. And we get in touch with that clarity. I'll include one teaching and let you guys go. Let me tell you one thing, let you guys go. This is worth just to hear this. You just came for tonight to hear this, you go somewhere. There's a very famous verse we all say all the time. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. King David Melech says, where will my help come from? What kind of question is that? Imagine a Jew doesn't know where his help comes from. Every Jew knows his help comes from Hashem. We all believers, children of believers. Why is he asking, where will my help come from? And although he answers the next verse, help comes from Hashem, what was his question? And why is he looking at mountains? What are mountains? So, mountain means a big chunk of this world. One meaning of a mountain is your cell phone. Because your cell phone tells you loud voices of people, which seem to wield a lot of power. What the newscasters say, what the financial analysts say, everyone has their picture of the world. And you look at the world, look at from the perspective of your phone, you have a major question, may ayin yavi ezri, how in the world will things be different? And even if you answer, may how comes from Hashem, your question is louder than your answer. But there's another explanation of this verse. May ayin, the meaning of mountains, mountain also means tzaddikim. A tzaddik is called a mountain because the more you know about a tzaddik, the more you know how great the tzaddik is. The closer you get to a mountain, the taller it seems. The closer you get to a tzaddik, the more you look at a tzaddik, the more you realize how great he is. Whereas he's far beyond what you thought he was before. You thought he was this, the closer you get, he's far beyond. So David is telling us like this. The end of the verse, if you look, your eyes are on the real mountains, you don't have a question where may help come from. You have a emphatic statement. I know for sure, may ayin yavi ezri, out of nowhere, out of beyond nature, out of Hashem Himself, beyond all of His shtalshuls, beyond of all creation, may ayin for sure yavi ezri with absolute bitachon, for sure may help will come from Hashem Himself. So there's two ways of reading the pasuk. One way is you're looking at the physical mountains of your cell phone, then you're wondering, oh my gosh, mitarsam or milarza, how will the help come? Another way of looking at the pasuk is, I'm looking at the tzaddikim, then it's not a question, it's a statement. So which one is it? Is it a statement or is it a question? It depends where you look. If you look at tzaddikim, if you're looking at the words of the Rebbe, looking at the Rebbe, looking at the word, then it's me'ayin yavi. Out of nowhere you feel that. Because a tzaddik is a window to Hashem's truth. That's why people have pictures of tzaddikim, pictures of the Rebbe all over. It's not. You use a mirror to know how to make sure you look okay. The picture of the Rebbe to make sure that you are okay. That you go to center yourself. You look at tzaddik, then you look at the words of tzaddikim. You look at then you don't have a question. It's a statement. But if you look at your cell phone, looking at the smaller earthy mountains, looking down at your cell phone, then you'll wonder how will it happen. So I don't know about you. I know me. I look sometimes at my cell phone, and sometimes I look at the words of the Torah and the words of tzaddikim. So you cannot choose what questions you have. You can choose what you look at. The more you look at tzaddikim, the more you feel the truth of the emphatic statement, I have nowhere Hashem will help. The more you look at your cell phone, the more you feel, I have no idea how I'll be helped. And you might answer, Hashem will help, but it's weak. So the choice is where we look. And that's the power of this Shabbos. Hashem gives us the absolute vision, the absolute clarity of the coming of Mashiach and the resurrection of the dead. If Chas v'Shalom Mashiach is delayed, we're shown this. And it lifts us up. And in the language of Levitz B'dishiv, it's not just a inspiration to do tshuva. It's something that puts us in a place that it becomes our nature to be the way we're supposed to be our nature to be living with Mashiach. Like in the analogy, Yitzchak said, the father sees the son behaving well, now he can give him the third suit. So that's the purpose of this Shabbos, to lift us up, to be in the zone of Mashiach, so that our davening is like Dr. Bressman's davening. That there's heart there. That our learning Torah is we sense it's the Torah. You know the crowns in the shul are polished? You know the last person who thought of polishing the crowns in the shul? Dr. Bressman. You know the person who thought about it before him? Dr. Bressman. And the person thought, it's a sensitivity. When we had auctions for Aliyahs, Dr. Bressman, he wouldn't let an auction go by without a bid. Why? Because it insulted the Torah. How could it be people are not bidding on the Torah? Not that he wanted an Aliyah. It can't be. There has to be a bid on an Aliyah. You can't insult the Torah like that. Not because he wanted Aliyah. He had to give an Aliyah because it can't be. It's a vision. It's a vision. This Shabbos Hashem gives us a vision. This Shabbos Hashem puts us in a place to see the emes. We have to wait to Shabbos. All the signs of the Torah show us that we're in the time of Megillah. And the Tchias HaMesim, and Chayim Peretz ben Aryeh Leib. Chayim